Hey, my name is Mike, and this is a too long didn't read version of Oregorger on normal. The boss does Acid Torrent, which is a frontal cone ability aimed at a ranged player and does a lot of damage. The damage it deals is based off the person it hits, which is always the closest person to the boss, which should always be your main tank. The melee always wants to make sure they're at maximum melee range. The amount of mitigation that the tank uses for this ability dictates how much damage is done to him and the rest of the raid, so you always want to have a defensive cooldown up for this. When a tank gets hit by Acid Torrent, he gets a debuff on him that increases the amount of damage Acid Torrent does, so you want to always make sure you're swapping tanks. Throughout this fight, Oregorger will throw Wretched Blackrock at the ranged. This puts a fire void zone underneath you that you don't want to stand in and you want to make sure to get out of as soon as possible. It's best to have your range stacked up for this so that way you don't have random spots of fire void zones. Oregorger also has a raid-wide AoE called Blackrock Barrage that can be interrupted. He can actually cast this up to 3 times in a row, so you want to make sure to have some sort of rotation for the interrupts. If you are one of the interrupters though, make sure you're paying attention to what he's casting, because sometimes you'll only cast it twice in a row and then cast something else. Periodically he'll throw a shard out to melee. It does damage when it hits the ground, and then 3 seconds later it does even more damage and stuns anyone that's still around it. It's kind of hard to see, but you want to make sure everyone gets out of that as fast as possible. I found it was best to have all your melee stack up and then move at the same time, so that way the shard never was in the middle and everyone got stunned. When the boss gets 0 mana, phase 2 starts. Throughout this phase, he's just rolling around the room. Whenever he hits the wall, he does raid-wide AoE. Throughout this phase, he also gets a stacking buff every time he hits the wall that increases the amount of damage from that wall hit by 5%. Boss never doubles back on himself, meaning he'll never go back the way he just came, so if you want to make sure you're not getting hit, just stand in the direction he just came from. Also, throughout this phase, these boxes spawn around the room. When you kill these boxes, Blackrock ore spawn, and when the boss rolls over them, he gets 10% of his mana back. The goal of this phase is to regenerate 100% of his mana, so he has to roll over 10 of these ores. Once he gets 100 mana, phase 1 starts all over again. It's also important to note that if the boss goes through phase 1 and 2 twice, he enrages. That was a too long didn't read version of Oregorger on normal. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a great day.